after Jesus has returned. His 1,000-year reign will begin with the building of the temple of God. This unique temple was described by the prophet Ezekiel in chapter 41. And it will be from here that Christ the King will rule all nations. And all the nations will come to this temple to worship the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. The Word of God made flesh, the Messiah. Isaiah 2, verse 2. In the last days, the mountain of the house of the Lord will be established as the chief of the mountains, and will be raised above the hills, and all the nations will stream to it. And many peoples will come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may teach us concerning his ways, and that we may walk in his paths. For the law will go forth from Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he will judge between the nations, and will render decisions." Isaiah 9, verse 6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end. Revelation 27. And when the 1,000 years have expired, Satan will be loosed out of his prison. Revelation 28. And he will go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle. The number of them is as the sand of the sea. Revelation 29. And they went up over the breadth of the earth, and circled around the camp of the saints, and the beloved city. And fire came down from God out of heaven, and devoured them. And the devil, who deceived them, was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet were. And he will be tormented day and night, forever and ever. Revelation 20 verse 11. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. Revelation 20 verse 12. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. Revelation 20 verse 13. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. And they were judged, every man according to their works. Revelation 20 verse 14. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. Revelation 20 verse 15. And if anyone's name was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire. Revelation 21:8. But the fearful, and the unbelieving, and the abominable and murderers, and whoremongers and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars, will have their part in the lake burning with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God, out of heaven, prepared as a bride, adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven, saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. And there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said to me, It is done. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. To him who thirsts, I will give of the fountain of the water of life, freely. He who overcomes will inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God. And its light was like a stone, most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. And it had a great and high wall, with 12 gates. And on the gates were 12 angels. And having names inscribed, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the sons of Israel. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them were the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls, respectively. Each one of the gates was one pearl. And the street of the city was pure gold, as transparent glass, the river of the water of life, sparkling like crystal, and coming from the throne of God and of the Lamb, and flowing down the middle of the city's street. On each side of the river was the tree of life, which bears fruit 12 times a year, once each month, and its leaves are for the healing of the nations. And the city had no need of the sun, nor of the moon, that they might shine in it. For the glory of God illuminated it, and its lamp is the Lamb. And the nations of those who are saved will walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth bring their glory and honor into it. But nothing that is impure will enter the city, nor anyone who does shameful things or tells lies. Only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of the living will enter the city. The throne of God and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him, and they shall see his face. Listen, says Jesus. I am coming soon. I will bring my rewards with me, to give to each one according to what he has done. I am the first and the last, the beginning and the end. Happy are those who wash their robes clean, and so have the right to eat the fruit from the tree of life, and to go through the gates into the city.